And now, Mr. Phil Wolfenden, Vice President of Cisco's Customer Experience Center in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, will give us insights on how the latest innovations and how networking drives businesses' agile, security, and scalability. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, and my name is Phil Wolfenden. I lead the Customer Experience Organization for Cisco. And apart from being very pleased to be here, I wanted to share that actually I'm feeling blessed. I'm feeling blessed because, like all of you, I am part of a golden generation because I have lived to see three technology innovations that have changed the world and everybody in it. Of course, it started in the 1990s. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Okay. Is that better? Okay. Apparently that's better. Can't hear anything, but you can hear me. It started in the 1990s with the internet, and suddenly overnight, all of business changed. Companies all over the world, defined originally in a small geographic area, became global. And the way they interacted with all of their customers, all their suppliers, all their employees changed instantly. It was continued in the 2000s when, of course, we had mobile devices, smart devices, democratized the internet. Everybody was connected to everything all the time. And society changed at the same time as business. How did business implement the advantages of the internet? Well, they created infrastructure to support all of those interactions, and they hired skills to be able to design, to operate, and to implement those services and those changes. And so, the corporate IT organization was born to be able to run those solutions and those business advantages for corporate business. The next wave is all around cloud computing. It meant that that device in my hand no longer was constrained by the storage and the compute power. I can borrow all of that from the cloud and it can be infinite. It meant that my corporate IT organization no longer had to run and create everything themselves. They could move applications, they could move workload, they could move data out of their own infrastructure, out of their own data centers, and consume that as a cloud product and pay as you go. How did businesses adapt to that new world? They adapted their infrastructure, and they adapted the skills that they had in their organizations that were designing, building, and operating those solutions. And the third wave, we know what the third wave is. I was trying to count from the start of the day how many presentations did not mention AI. My total at this point is 0. We know the third wave is AI. Combining all of that data and all of those users and all of that compute power instantly to be able to provide insights specific to you, specific to where you are, who you are, what you do, or what people like you do. How are businesses getting ready for AI? Well, guess what? They are adapting their infrastructure and their skills to get ready for that. And how are they doing that? What specifically are they doing? Well, rather than answer that question myself, I decided to phone a friend. And actually, I decided to phone 2,000 friends because Cisco every year, in collaboration with IDC, does a survey for 2,000 leaders of those corporate IT organizations, the chief information officer, the VP, or the executive in charge of IT inside of the 50 largest customers that we have globally in 30 different countries. And we ask them, in the next 3 to 5 years, what are you doing? What do you care about? What are you prioritizing, and maybe more importantly, what are you spending money on? Because what they're spending money on is a great validation point for what they're prioritizing. And here is what they told us. There are 5 priorities. And I'm going to spend just a little bit of time going through each one so you can get a sense of what the 2,000 CIOs of our 50 large enterprises are actually thinking about and actually prioritizing. But you will see a theme. And the theme is they're all related to infrastructure and to skills. You know, infrastructure, managing infrastructure is a tough job because none of those waves that I just talked about happened in isolation. They all built on each other. They were maybe less waves, maybe more steps. And just because we happen to be in the third wave doesn't mean we can forget about the first, because the infrastructure and the skills are still there. The services we're providing in that wave are still there. Customers, partners, employees are still using those. So we don't only have to evolve our infrastructure and skills for AI, we have to support everything that came before it. All the different platforms, all the different workloads, all the different data types are all still current. And that's the challenge around evolving infrastructure. Let me just give you a bit of a deep dive on each of these 5 to give you a sense of what large business is prioritizing and where they see their focus in the next 3 to 5 years. First of all, that have to support the legacy environment is a huge challenge because over the last decade, maybe more, CIOs have bought individual point products. I need a security solution, so I'm going to buy some firewalls. I need to expand my data agility, so I'm going to get some server blades in my data center. They're all best-of-breed point products, and I can guarantee they don't all work together. Well, that's not going to work anymore because AI means that everything has to work end to end. Your data has to be available all the time to any user that needs it or any user that is authorized to use it. Any application that needs it or is authorized to use it needs it now. So things that don't work together really aren't going to cut it. Infrastructure as a platform is something that you will hear CIOs talking about pretty frequently these days. You associate platform as being a software application, a software device for allowing consistency of design and open APIs, but it applies just as appropriately to infrastructure. Seamless operation, end-to-end, easy to operate, easy to manage, easy to maintain, easy to provision new services. That's what the new infrastructure needs to look like to enable AI. Their second priority is security. I'm guessing it's not a surprise to anybody that CIOs worry about security. But the same story applies. You can't have point products with security because it becomes useless at that point. If your security-approved device needs to access compute power in the cloud to access data which is sovereign, and all of those authorizations don't match, it doesn't work. So you need end-to-end security. And you have to change that very frequently, so it has to be easy to change the policy end-to-end across every element of your infrastructure. It's not new that security is on this list, but a new finding from the survey this year is actually when CIOs measure their performance, or when their boss, when their company measures their performance, there were a couple of things on their KPIs. Availability of applications, speed of response times to those applications, how many times you had outages. All those are still on there. But new, top of the list, is actually how secure is the most sensitive data that my company has, and did I manage to stay off the front page of the newspaper for having it exposed? That is the single most important thing that CIOs are measured on in 2024. Let's go on to the third priority. IT professionals and IT executives have bought and fully understand and fully embrace the power of AI, and it's applicable right now to CIOs in terms of how do I automate my operations in a smart way. There are things going on in the infrastructure which actually can no longer be done by people because they have to do it so quickly. I had a conversation maybe 6 months ago with the chief executive of a mobile operator in Southeast Asia. And he was telling me that in order to absorb an acquisition that his company had done, his CIO had to provision all those old customers onto his new network 10 times a second for 4 months. Right? So humans can't do that any longer. Machines and software have to do that. Data centers, we've talked a lot about data centers, but they are complex because they have to support the legacy as well as the new. There are multiple national and international banks who still run their financial transactions on IBM mainframes designed in the 1970s. They're operational. They're in their data centers. They have to accommodate that in their data flows, their working practices, the processes they use to operate and change their infrastructure. And the fifth priority, of course, is sustainability. When you think about AI and how it's implemented at a device level, you think about GPUs, graphical processor units, rather than a CPU. The average GPU consumes 11 times as much power as a CPU. In 2023, the combined data centers on planet Earth consumed 300 terawatt hours of power. That's 2% of all the power that was generated on Earth. That's forecast to increase 160% year on year for the next decade. We don't have enough power stations, even if we kept all the fossil-fueled ones, to power all that growth. We have to come up with smart solutions based on telemetry from all the devices which are telling us how to power them up, power them down, what are they consuming the most, how do I use off-peak electricity, how do I use natural resources to cool my data centers. That's based on telemetry and data and smart decisions around power consumption. But the loudest message that we got from our survey was actually not about infrastructure. It was about skills. Because none of that works without people. We know how unreliable AI is when you let it out on its own. It needs adult supervision. It needs to be trained. It needs to be overwatched. The old divisions and silos in corporate IT organizations are gone now. No longer can we have the network guys and the data center guys and the application guys and the security guys. It's just all one. It's just all the same, and we need to manage it end to end. We don't have those skills today. Nobody has those skills. It's not that they're scarce. It's really they're just not there. And without those skills, without those people, it doesn't matter how cool the AI use cases are. We will fail because we can't provide the adult supervision. So my time is up. I just wanted to leave you with one interesting thought as I leave the stage. If people are the critical success factor to the success of AI, then wouldn't it be ironic if the biggest wave of technology innovation that is reputed to be stealing everybody's jobs actually turned out to be the single biggest opportunity for our young people to be retrained and to be fully employed? Thank you.